Chapter 2. Don Quixote leaves home. Before sunup the next morning, Don Quixote left. Destination unknown. At home, they didn't know he was leaving. He rode happily through the dry, flat land for a while. Then he suddenly remembered he had not been properly knighted. He could not engage in combat if he was not a dubbed knight. He thought hard, and at last found the solution. He would continue on his way and ask the first person he met to do him the honor and dub him a knight. It was July, a scorching month in Spain. Neither heat nor thirst stopped Don Quixote. There was only adventure in his mind. By sundown, he and Rocinante were tired and hungry. And then a light shone in the distance. "How lucky I am," he said to himself. "A castle. I can see the moat from here, and on the other side 3 or 4 imposing turrets." Toward that castle they went. It wasn't a castle, of course, just a simple country inn. Instead of a page to announce his arrival, there were 2 ordinary women at the door. 2 women who had never seen a knight or heard about knighthood before. The strange sight of Rocinante and Don Quixote frightened them at first. "Look at that," one said. "What is it?" "Let's run inside," said the other. "It looks dangerous." "Your Highnesses, beautiful princesses, there is nothing to be afraid of," Don Quixote assured them. "I am a knight in armor who will do you no harm. I'm here to see the exalted lord of this magnificent castle." The old-fashioned language surprised the women. Seconds later, though, they thought this must be a joke, a very funny joke, because this was no castle, and they were no princesses. They laughed and laughed at his looks and at his speech, until the innkeeper came out to see what was going on. Don Quixote was allowed to stay. As for dinner, the only thing left was some badly cooked codfish and stale bread. For the starving knight, this was a banquet. He tried to drink some wine. Catastrophe! There was wine spilled all over. He had kept his helmet on because he could not undo the many knots he had tried to keep it on. The people at the inn improvised a drinking straw out of a reed so he could drink. It was a very strange sight indeed. After dinner, Don Quixote told the innkeeper his secret and asked him to dub him a knight. The innkeeper didn't want to, at first. Then he decided to have a little fun and agreed. There was a small problem. Don Quixote was told the castle's chapel was being rebuilt, so the ceremony would have to take place in the courtyard. First, there was the watching of the armor. In this part of the ceremony, the knight had to honor his armor by standing guard over it. Don Quixote paced back and forth in the moonlight, with most of the guests as an audience. Also staying at the inn that night were a group of mule drivers. It so happened that about that hour was the normal time to give water to the mules. But Don Quixote had placed his armor over the water tank. One of the mule drivers started to move the armor, and Don Quixote cried out, "You evil creature! What are you doing?" The mule driver went on with his business. He didn't even look at the knight. "Keep your hands off my armor," Don Quixote said as he attacked in wild rage. Then a second mule driver came to the water tank. But before he could even touch the armor, Don Quixote attacked him, this time in complete silence. The rest of the mule drivers couldn't just stand by and watch. It was their turn. That could have been the end of Don Quixote. They gave him such a beating. But the innkeeper managed to calm everybody down, and he decided to conclude the ceremony immediately, before something worse happened. Pretending that a book he used to keep his accounts was a prayer book, the innkeeper sang a couple of psalms and finished the ceremony. The sword was handed to Don Quixote and his spurs were buckled. He also received a ceremonial blow, with the side of his sword on neck and back. A true knight at last. He mounted Rocinante and gave him most heartfelt thanks and left the inn. It was just before sunup.